Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight, each and every one of you. I would like to call to order the Centerville Board of Education meeting for Monday, April 26th, 2021. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl.
Here.
Mrs. Sternbach. Here. Dr. Rohr.
Here.
Megan Sparks. Here. Mr. Schroyer.
Here. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 on the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented, please?
So moved. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl.
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach. Yes. Dr. Rohr.
Yes.
Megan Sparks. Yes. Mr. Schroyer.
Yes. Item number 5 on the agenda is honors. Dr. Henderson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Schroyer. Tonight, we have the great opportunity to honor our Centerville High School boys basketball team and the cheerleaders and all the coaches on a great State of Ohio first place championship victory that occurred a few months ago. So we're honored to bring them here tonight and to acknowledge them and to this great feat. So I'd like to start by first calling up a cheerleader coach, Ms. Brianna Kearns, if she'll come up to the podium. And make the introductions for the cheerleaders, and then we'll ask the players and the cheerleaders to line up in front of our 4 tables here.
Good evening. My name is Brianna Kearns, and I am the varsity basketball cheerleading coach. I just want to start off by first saying congratulations to the boys. Thank you so much for a great season. It certainly makes our job much easier when the games are fun and exciting to cheer for. I want to say thank you to my girls. This obviously was an unprecedented year, and we went from beginning of season practices, we weren't even sure if we were going to be allowed to cheer this year, and then we found out that we were pretty much just going to be doing home games. And so even though the games weren't normal or what they expected, they fought through it and still made it a pretty great year. And then obviously the great tournament run just capped off a fantastic season. So I'll now introduce my girls. So if you guys want to come up when I call your name. Unable to attend tonight is Faith Kayott, Kylie Danford, Morgan Gatto, Abby Millard, Avery Miller, Ashton Stargell, Lauren Toby, and Jordan McGay.
Again, we'd like you to stay up here. We'll get a group picture in just a minute. So thank you, Brianne. Next, I'd like to invite head coach Brooke Cups to the podium to make some presentations to the boys. So.
Well, thanks for having us. Thanks for all the support this year. It was a wild year, obviously, with everything. The girls were awesome. We appreciate all their support. The outpouring from the community was incredible down the stretch with everything that was going on, all the rallies and all the things I didn't really want to do, but people around me made me do them, which I'm glad we did. I was trying to just get to the game, play the game, but it was a great experience for our guys to go through. Obviously, a pretty special group of guys this year that I don't know that anybody really expected us to kind of end up where we ended up, except those 14 guys that were in the locker room together. Just the willingness to accept their roles and to buy into what we asked them to do is a testament to their parents, the community that's brought them up and raised them, the teachers that have led them and gotten them to the positions that they're in. We talk a lot about being tough, passionate, unified, and thankful. And one of the things we say is you can't be tough alone. And so I think the resiliency that this group showed down the stretch in some of those games that we were able to win was really a reflection of the foundation that they had for many years before they got to us. So we were just the benefactors of it. But a great year, really grateful for all of those guys. It's always fun to see them back together again because you're with them basketball season's like 5 months long. It's a long time. So we spend a lot of time together. So it's fun when they're all back together, and you miss them when it is nice to end the season without a loss, though. Like you're still finishing basketball seasons with losing your last game. So it's definitely something that we welcome. But really proud of the guys for everything that they did, and the way they did it, I think, was probably what made me more proud than anything. So I will start with introducing our guys. You can just come on up here. I'll go kind of quick. Reese, we call him Prez. Clark, president of the student body. Reese. Jay Hayes. Jay, this ain't that Hayes. It's just a crazy quote. One of many crazy things Jay said throughout the year. I think that was actually last year, wasn't it, Jay? Trey, Billy Johnson. We call him Billy for absolutely no reason. We just think he looks like a Billy sometimes, so we call him Billy. Trey Johnson. Max Knauer. Max was our leader of our scout team. So the Luke Chacon kid that we played in the state semifinals was supposed to be one of the best players in the state. After that game, we were pretty sure Max was a better Luke Chacon than Luke Chacon was. Andy O. Velasco. Andy is I coached Andy's older brother, Adam. Coached his sister, Amy, kind of too. There we go. Those are our seniors. Those 5 guys are our seniors. We're going to miss them. Give them one of the things that's been talked about quite a bit after the game is like we return a lot of our points we'll return a lot of our points next year and say, this or that. What people do not understand, I think it's just the lack of understanding of how teams really work. But those 5 guys are the ones that set the tone for our season. Like the humility and the acceptance of roles started with those guys. And so to say we don't have, we've got a lot returning, we do have some guys that are returning. But we are losing a huge part of our locker room and part of the culture of who we are and who we were as a team this year. So very grateful for those guys setting that example. Our juniors, we have Mike Condrance. Mike is AP All-American and student assistant. Ermoon Mondock. We just call him Moon. Q. Wynn Hafner. Win with the big 3 in the state, up 1 in the state finals. It's a big 3 right in front of our bench, gives us a 4-point lead. Win. Ryan Kiefer. Mr. Do a little bit of everything. Run around, play really hard, dive on the floor. I got a funny story about Keith, about the regional final game against Moeller. I'm not going to share it though. Yeah. It was a funny story though. Rich Rolfe, which is our double-double machine, averaged 10.5 points, right at 10.5 rebounds, about 14 points a game. Rich is getting a little bigger. Can you tell he's been in the weight room? Well, a little bit. And Tom House. Tom, man that ended Moeller's season. Very good. Those are our juniors, so give those guys And then our sophomores, Kyle Kinney couldn't be here tonight. He's playing baseball. Really good baseball player, too. He's done a great job balancing those two things. Emmanuel Dangs, our lockdown defensive guy. Guarded pretty much the best player on every team we played. E-Man did a great job kind of buying into that and giving us an identity defensively. And Gabe Cups, Gabe is our point guard, and ran the ship most of the time. That's all the nice things I can say about that. So those are our sophomores. And I'll just call our coaches up here together, but really grateful for our coaching staff. They did a great job holding guys accountable, getting to a standard. We really expect a lot out of our guys. I'm sure you read some of the stuff, but the expectation of being a part of this group is exceptional in the work that goes into it, and the coaches put a ton of time behind the scenes with all that stuff. So Coach Brooking, Coach Christensen, Coach Gallagher, Coach Leiker, Coach Lou, and Coach Stoller. Come on up. And that's all of us.
Brooke, before you leave the podium, when I'm out in the community, a lot of people that I run into, they've obviously talked a lot about the great season that you guys have had and did have this past season. But one of the things they talk to me about or ask me about is, what's this keep chopping all about? And I tell them what I know about it, but I thought maybe you might want to explain while we're on camera a little bit about the keep chopping and how that's impacted how you do things.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to, so we have a retreat at the beginning of every year, and we take the guys out to the woods, and one of the things we do is we chop down a tree. Every guy chops down their own tree. Like, it's dead, so it's okay. But when we walk out to chop the tree down, a lot of times I'll ask them how many swings they think it's going to take to chop down the tree, and they'll say something dumb like 30. And it's more like 300, right? And so they start swinging and they start chopping and and it takes a while to even knock the bark off, right? And so they keep swinging, they start taking off their sweatshirts and they start taking off their gloves, and so the message is for us, a lot of what we do is just based on work. We're not the smartest people, we're not the best coaches. We're probably not the best players, but we work. When we don't know what to do, we work. When things go well, we work. When things go bad, we work. And that's really just the mentality that we want these guys to leave our program with is, stuff doesn't go well, go home to your family, figure it out. Work, go back to work. So keep chopping is the mentality of just coming back the next day. If you have a good day, that's great. Go back the next day. You have a bad day? That's okay. Go back the next day. So keep swinging, keep chopping. It's our chop mentality. So that's it.
Thank you. Now, if you would all stay up here, we'd like to invite Representative Tom Young and Representative Andrea White to the podium to make a special award, and then we'll try to get everybody somewhat closer together for a group picture then after that. So, thank you.
I'll get your hands later. I'm Andrea White, and I'm a graduate of Centerville, and it is my honor to be here tonight and present this resolution from the House of Representatives.
You can do first.
That'd be awesome. And basically what I wanted to tell you all is this is from not only us, but it's from the Speaker of the House, and we'll bring it on down here. So thank you guys for all of your hard work, and we won't bore you with all the details, but I think one of the awesome things about tonight is that you're never going to forget not only your win, but that you did it in a pandemic. You guys persevered, you depended on each other, you were authentic and real and felt the emotion and all the hardship. And I want to tell you, as a community member, I am so proud of you. As a parent who's been a mother of a cheerleader, a mother of an athlete, to see which cheerleaders are athletes, and they don't get to be on the court playing with a ball, but they're on there getting the rally and the crowd up. They're doing what is needed to do to keep the energy, and the energy is what teams feed off of. And so I just want to thank all of the parents, because the sacrifice you've made, all of the little, the coaches and all the leagues you guys have been in, and how you've learned and depended on each other, you'll never forget this. But the lessons of resiliency and really just caring about each other and being able to work as a team, those are going to serve you in your jobs, in your futures, and whatever you choose to do as a pathway out of high school. But I want to commend all of you guys for your hard work, and thanks for letting us come. And this is just a piece of paper that says, people in this state think you're great, but it also is about, knowing that you're recognized. You were read, this was read on the House of Representatives floor to recognize the accomplishments of Centerville High School boys basketball team and the cheerleaders who supported them and the families and communities. So thanks for letting us come tonight.
During one of the most difficult times that we can remember in our history, to be locked down and to be able to put and maintain a team, a structure, a goal, and to accomplish that, and then to inspire community. How powerful is that? And then in the meantime, you make history. And you'll look back 30 years from now, history matters. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Representative Young and Representative White, thank you very much for coming tonight. We appreciate you guys, your personal attendance here in that presentation. Thank you. Item number 6 on the agenda is hearing of the public. The Board of Education provides this as a convenient opportunity for public comment before any official action is taken. If you would like to address the board, I would ask that you come to the podium, state your name and address, and limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes, as we do have pre-scheduled reports and action items on the agenda. The board will listen to all who speak, but generally not engage in discussion or dialogue at this time. Matters requiring follow-up will be directed to the superintendent. As always, individual board members can be contacted for a set meeting appointment, and written correspondence can be mailed to the board office. Do we have anyone who would like to address the board tonight?
Paul Subject, 5777 Hither Green Drive, Washington Township. In last Sunday's Dayton newspaper, they had an extensive article on various levies that are up in this May election. And one of the things that caught my eye was Xenia. Xenia's got 2 levies up, but the one that's of interest is where it says the main story is a 37-year, $36.2 million bond request to pay for the replacement of a 1960s era school. And then the superintendent of the district says nearly every critical system in this building needs replacement: electrical, safety, air conditioning. And the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission reviewed the building, and they said more than 2/3 of the cost of a new building would be used to repair the systems in this old 1960s school. So the taxpayers are being asked to replace a building. And I just wanted to reflect on how that applies to Centerville, because thanks to the efforts of Dr. Henderson and the business office project manager, John Wesleyan, there is a program at Centerville where we are constantly upgrading, replacing, or maintaining the physical plant of Centerville. And that's important to me as a taxpayer and the members of the community, I believe, because we're not going to be saddled, or I don't suspect that we're going to be saddled with this type of a request to fund the replacement of a building, because we're keeping them current. It wasn't but a couple of months ago that the school board approved a contract with an engineering company to come out and review every building in the campus, every building on the campus, and to come forward a priority list of replacements or corrections for each building, and then to subsequently prioritize all of those recommendations into the #1 category to be replaced all the way down to the last, so that the school board has something to work with and the business office knows how to prioritize the projects. So I didn't want to let this article go by without complimenting Dr. Henderson, John Wesley, and the team of the administrative staff and the school board for supporting that team and appropriating the money to keep these buildings current and state-of-the-art, so that as taxpayers, we're not going to be in a situation where we're going to be carrying a debt for 37 years on a building that can't have a life if it's kept current. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else like to address the board? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Lisa Cousins. I'm at 827 Grants Trail. I'm a parent of 2 children, ages 8 and 10, that used to attend Centerville. Unfortunately, I had to pull them out of school this past fall due to the policies that the board has made due to the coronavirus. I didn't feel comfortable putting them here regarding the mask mandates, and I'd like to share a little bit of information with you today to address why that is. I understand that, things have changed between the spring and now, and a lot has happened, a lot of new information has come out, and I've been kind of waiting for that information to be addressed by the board and to be addressed by the community, but since it hasn't, I think I'd like to share it with you today. So, if you don't mind. I'd like to refer to a study that was put out by Elsevier. It's posted to the NIH website, and so you can go out there and find it, or I'd be happy to send anyone a link if they'd like to look at it. But one of the things, they've looked at 39 different independent studies all throughout the United States as well as the world, and they compared the data. So this is one of the most comprehensive studies that has been done en masse to date. They came to 4 different conclusions. 1, that the practice of wearing face masks has compromised safety. 2, both medical and non-medical face masks are ineffective in reducing human-to-human transmission of the coronavirus. 3, wearing face masks has adverse physiological and psychological effects. And 4, the long-term consequences of wearing face masks on health are detrimental. First of all, let's just talk a little bit about the facts of the face mask. This, you can see straight through it. Viruses are very, very small, okay? They are 1,000 times smaller than the thread count in your mask. There's no way that our mask is protecting us from any of that. And you can see that by just going outside in the winter and you can see your breath coming out of your mask. This is a picture of a doctor using a vape gun, okay? You can see it's coming straight out. This is a picture of someone who's worn a mask while sanding. If you've ever sanded a wall, you'll know all of those particles go right into your nose, right into your mouth. A virus is 1,000 times smaller than a particle. So now that we've established the fact that our masks are not keeping that virus from us, let's talk about why they're affecting our health negatively. And I'd like to read off some of the effects that they've talked about. 1, the bacteria and mold will accumulate inside your mask. You're wearing it all day. You're breathing. There's warm air going into your mouth, and that isn't collecting in your mask and creating a breeding ground for bacteria and mold. That bacteria and mold cannot be killed unless it's in 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Guess what our washing machine is? Our washing machine only goes up to 130 on its highest setting. That's a typical washing machine, which means even washing your mask every day isn't killing that bacteria and mold that's in it. So you're continuously breathing that in day after day, hour after hour. Now OSHA, their requirements suggest for hospitals when they train their doctors that they replace their face mask every 1 to 2 hours. That is OSHA requirement. Are we changing our masks every 2 hours during the school? No, we're not changing our masks every 2 hours. nor are we providing our children with new masks to change them out every 2 hours. That is irresponsible. And if we did do what the OSHA requirements say that we should do, a child that's in school for 6 hours a day should change their mask at minimum 3 times. If we provided a mask for every child, we would go through 25,092 masks a day for every single student in Centerville, and that doesn't even include the teachers and the administration. I can't even imagine the impact on the environment if we were to do such a thing. In addition to that, every time you're breathing in your mask, you are restricting the oxygen. This, after 60 minutes of constant breathing and restriction of oxygen, can cause hypoxia, okay? You also have the buildup of CO2. This has detrimental effects to your health, and I'm going to read off a few of them. Shortness of breath, decline in pH levels, acidosis, toxicity, inflammation, self-contamination, an increase in stress hormones, an increased muscle tension, and immunosuppression. Immunosuppression. We're talking about reducing our immune system's ability to fight off a virus during a pandemic by wearing a mask. That is completely irresponsible. And not only that, there's other psychological effects that happen when our children are wearing a mask. My children hate it. They complain every time I have to go anywhere. Their friends hate it. They complain to me every day how they don't want to wear it, how they don't want to go to school, how they can't even stand being here because they have to wear it all day long, and it's uncomfortable, and they feel horrible. Not only that, it creates depression, it creates anxiety, it creates fear. It's not something that anyone, I'm tired of hearing this from the kids. I'm just tired of it. And we need to do something about it. And we have something that we can do about it. We have mask exemptions in the state of Ohio, and a lot of people fall under those mask exemptions. I'm one of those people. And yet I'm still required to wear one when I come here, even though I have a mask exemption. And by law, you should not be able to ask me what that exemption is and what my medical, but I'll tell you, I'm hearing impaired, okay? And I can't hear other people speak with a mask on. I have to be able to read lips. What about all those other children that are hearing impaired and need to be able to read lips in order to hear? Their education is not the same without being able to do them. What about the small children who are learning to articulate words, who need to be able to see that teacher's face, to be able to learn to pronounce the words? They don't have that ability. We've removed that ability from them. And I'll just go through a few more, some of which are mental disorders, anyone who has ADHD, anyone who has Down syndrome, someone who has autism, all of them are exempt from being able to wear a mask. Anyone who's speaking to the public right now is exempt from wearing a mask. I would think that that would include teachers, because they need to be able to speak and project to a class, and that class needs to be able to hear them. We're keeping the students from being able to hear those teachers speak and see their faces and react to their facial expressions. That is so critical in your child's learning. And my kids have already told me, and I'd love to come back to Centerville. I was a student here. I graduated from Centerville. I came to this school because it was a great school district, and I still think that it can be a great school district. But my kids have already told me they don't want to come back. They don't want to come back until they remove these orders, because they don't want to be here when it's like that. And that just tears my heart out of my chest. And I love being their teacher, don't get me wrong, I love being their teacher. But I want to be able to give them an environment where they can learn, where they want to go, where they enjoy school, because they used to love school. And I hear it over and over. There's child after child and parent after parent that says the same thing. So I hope you really consider that. and that you start making decisions based on what the kids want and what the parents want, because that's what we elected the board members to do. And I'm hopeful that you'll take that into consideration and think about the health risks and think about the health concerns and think about the psychological damage that we're doing, because that's going to last with our children way longer than this pandemic.
Thank you, Lisa. Anyone else like to address the board tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to comment. Okay.
My name is Heather Schultz. I live at 9830 Rose Arbor Drive. I'm also here to talk about the mask policy. And I am particularly concerned in regard to next year. I realize that this year is basically done and probably no hope for change, but let's talk about next year. Because recent headlines published by MIT, Stanford, and NIH have proven the ineffectiveness of masks. That's because COVID-19 virus is 0.1 micrometers, and the holes in woven cloth are 5 to 200 micrometers. It is also printed on every box of single-use masks, an Etsy seller site that it does not stop COVID. We don't know the long-term effects of masking because no studies have ever been done. So to say that masks have been proven effective is not only opinion, but an outright lie, no matter what organization says it. We do know that masks cause hypoxemia, immunosuppression, fight or flight, fear, headaches, anxiety, and depression. That is the short list, by the way. Ohio COVID death count for 0 to 19-year-olds is 0%. 0. We have a 99.7% chance of survival at any rate, at any age. Mandates are not laws and nor are policies, and bad policies in particular should be overturned. The ODH has left policy in the hands of each district, and Centerville has implemented policies of their own that are neither scientific or up to date and include ignoring exemption guidelines set forth in Governor DeWine's mandate, which has recently been found to be unconstitutional by a judge in Ashland County, Ohio. And it will soon be turned over through SB 22. We have had all sports in Centerville playing without masks, with football players tackling each other, spit and blood flying everywhere, along with basketball, wrestling, soccer, lacrosse, and baseball. Spectators and players cheering, high-fiving, and hugging with no significant caseload. Since it has been left to each district to create policy, then it is also within the power of the district to change that policy, as it is clearly appropriate, and I propose that tonight. I have asked for legal proof that this policy can be enforced by the school. What is needed to submit exemptions only to be given more policy statements and requests for medical documentation, which no one is entitled to and is not directly mentioned in the policy or state mandate. It is written into the policy that it is at the discretion of the superintendent to approve or deny the exemption. I wonder how many have been approved. Let me be clear. I am not asking for or seeking approval to exercise my parental rights. My rights as a human, my rights as my children's rights, and I am not asking for that from the school. I am asking for what is my God-given right. I have been more than patient with this. I have extended this courtesy in alerting the schools to it, and I am well within my rights to do that. I do not need to provide more than that. So again, I ask you to show me the law that states that all these children are able to be forcibly masked against their will, because that is illegally practicing medicine without a license. You do not have the right to restrict the breathing of my children. That's child abuse and endangerment. It creates a bacterial cesspool over the mouth and nose, causing low oxygen levels, and causes one to inhale carbon dioxide, a waste product poisonous to the human body. We have seen an enormous increase in depression, suicide, and overdoses in the last year, and just today, grades 3 through 12 were sent a survey on mental health, which indicates a knowledge of the problem. I will not continue to be complicit in this lie or experiment on my children that has been perpetuated for more than a year, and you shouldn't either. We all know there's a levy coming where you'll be asking for more money for the schools. Do you think you'll get it? If you continue to ignore the families speaking out against this and other related topics, the people who elected you will replace you with people who support our ideals and goals, because we are no longer asleep at the wheel. You can conform to the patterns of this world, or you can be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The choice is yours.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the board?
Thank you very much.
Before we go on, since we do have a rule right now, could everyone please put their mask on the way they're supposed to, please? Over their
Even those
nose
of us
and
with
mouth.
exemptions?
Please put it on.
Do you not honor exemptions?
Could you please put it on a mask?
Answer the
if you're
question,
gonna be in
Dr.
here?
Rohr.
I
Answer
would
the
honor an
question,
exemption
Dr.
if we
Rohr.
saw an exemption, and the exemptions that were listed are all accurate, but while we're here, we have a rule.
Would you like me to
We
pull it
have-
up
we
on the
have-
state of Ohio?
We have a
website?
rule,
Yes, I
but please
can.
put on your mask. Please put on your mask.
I have an exemption.
Please put on your mask.
No. Go ahead, Greg.
Tom,
We'll have to end the meeting.
then end the meeting, that's fine.
Okay.
Need to have a motion to temporarily adjourn the meeting, and then we'll after that. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Any discussion or comment on that? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Abstain.
All right.
I'm going to call this meeting back to order, and could I have a motion, please, to rescind the, how do I want to say it? The adjournment that the board voted on a few minutes ago, please.
So moved.
Second.
Laura, call the roll.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes. Now, we're going to item number 11 on the agenda. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G4, I need a motion to adjourn to executive session for the review of negotiations with employees concerning compensation, and pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 121.22G2 for the purpose of discussing the sale of land. Could I have a motion, please?
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes. We are going to executive session. We are back in session. We want to go to item number 8 on the agenda, which are the treasurer's recommendations. 8A, consider approving the March 2021 financial statements, including the monthly general fund rolling report, the monthly general fund breakdown, the monthly cash reconciliation, the monthly fund activity report, then and now purchase orders approved by administration, certified by the treasurer, and supported by board resolution totaling $48,764.22. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Anybody? Call the roll, please, Laura.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes. 8B, consider approving the minutes of the following Board of Education meetings: the March 22nd, 2021 regular meeting and the April 19th, 2021 work session.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes. Number 9 on the agenda, superintendent's recommendations. 9A, the superintendent recommends the employment or change of employment status for the support staff personnel listed on Schedule C for the salaries, programs, and on the effective dates given. The superintendent also recommends the employment of the personnel listed on Schedules D and D1 for supplemental contracts or extra duty assignments. The superintendent also recommends the reemployment of non-renewed personnel listed on Schedule G for the reasons and on the effective dates given.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Call the roll, Laura.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Megan Sparks? Yes. Mr. Schreier?
Yes. 9B, consider approving May 3rd to May 7th, 2021 as National Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week, a time to publicly recognize our staff's contributions to the development of this community and the tremendous influence they have on the lives of our students.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Megan Sparks? Yes. Mr. Schreier?
Yes. 9C, please, I need a motion for a resolution approving the lowest and best bid from Apex Mechanical to replace 2 heating boilers at John Hole Elementary School with Bryan Flex unit boilers as outlined in the competitive bid process. Total cost on the John Hole boiler replacement is $2,100 $344. Number 2, a resolution approving the procurement of playground equipment and turf upgrades from Mid-States Recreation through the participation in a contract of the National Purchasing Partners for the total cost of $147,499. And number 3, a resolution approving the procurement for the soccer stadium for 4-pole LED lighting system from Musco Sports Lighting through a participation in a competitively solicited cooperative contract through Sourcewell for the total cost of $223,500. Included in that cost is a $8,500 limestone contingency.
So moved.
Second.
And any discussion on that, anybody? We discussed this extensively last week at our work session, and John Wesley did a good job of walking us through that. Laura, call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Megan Sparks? Yes. Mr. Schreier?
Yes. 9D, please consider the following ESSER 2 fund project. I need a resolution approving the procurement of HVAC control upgrades as part of the Healthy Air Solutions to improve air quality from Vital Energy Systems through the participation in a contract of the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance. The cost on these upgrades is not to exceed $167,502.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on that, anybody? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Megan Sparks? Yes. Mr. Schreier?
Yes. 9E, consider approving the acceptance of transportation responsibilities for the remaining 2020-21 school year from the school district and for the student listed.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Megan Sparks? Yes. Mr. Schreier?
Yes. 9F, consider approving the awarding of high school diplomas for recommended students of the class of 2021 who have successfully completed the requirements established by the State of Ohio Board of Department of Education and the Centerville Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Megan Sparks? Yes. Mr. Schreier?
Yes. Item number 10, any final comments for the good of the order?
Jeff, I'd like to make one. We went through it pretty quickly about honoring our staff and teachers for all the great work they do. I think tonight was a perfect example of that with our women and men here who were here representing our district in the basketball program and the coaches. We all really exemplified what the Centerville High School and what Centerville school system stands for, and the great comments that were made about not only their athletic ability, but also how they are good community members. They participate and do a lot of great things for our community. I didn't want to leave that past because we ought to make a big deal out of this more than we did tonight. They do a great job, all of our staff members, and I just want to make sure we don't forget it.
Amen. Amen. Anybody else, any comments?
I would like to email my report to everyone. Is that all right? My legislative
Sure.
report, there's quite a bit going on right now. You want to read the email, really? What?
Okay, let's go back. Let's complete the meeting, yes. Okay. All right, we're gonna go back to item number 7, on the agenda here to complete the meeting. 7A, Mrs. Sparks has an extensive legislative report.
House Bill 110 passed last Wednesday. The bill makes operating operations for the fiscal year 2022 and 2023 biennium and includes the fair funding plan, House Bill 1, with some changes. There is a great deal in this bill, so I'm going to touch on some key points that I think you should be aware of. The first one is there would be a 3-step process for funding schools, which would be base cost, categorical, and state and local share. The second one is direct funding for ed choice, so no deductions from our budget. I believe that Laura has touched on that before. We will also establish a temporary guarantee for fiscal year 22 and 23 for districts to ensure that no district receives less than its combined funding in the fiscal year 21 from foundation aid before the state funding reductions, student wellness and success funds, enrollment growth supplement funds. Also, transportation counts for both AM and PM. And something I want to make you guys aware of was I talked to Andy Trick today, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy, but we are required to bus preschoolers that are on IEPs, but they do not count towards this count. None of our preschoolers, 'cause we're lucky in our district, we do both the IEP children and the typical children, and they're not included on any of these counts. So Mr. Trick and I are going to write a letter to Senator Antoni because this bill did pass in the House and it's going to the Senate to see if we can get that changed because they are counting kids so much. So there's also an increase of state share transportation funding over time, provides more grants for transportation purchases. For graduations, it took out the requirements for FAFSA to be filled out, allows students to opt out of the SAT and ACT, and that starts with class 2026. Reading assessments in grades K through 3 can be used for a screening for dyslexia. Kindergarten readiness assessment has been moved back, the date has, and allows school boards to continue to meet via electronic technology until December 31st, 2021. There's a webinar scheduled for this Friday that I will be attending, so I will report more about this next month at our work session. I also wanted to point out that our representatives Young and White were both co-sponsors of this bill, and this bill is now going to the Senate. Governor DeWine signed House Bill 67 into law. This bill takes necessary steps to provide Ohio school and student relief for the end of the year assessments. Provisions within the bill to ensure relief include the following: allow students in grade 11 and 12 to use the end of the course grades instead of the mandated test to fulfill graduation requirements, provides flexibility for graduation requirements, allows home education schools to forego end of the year assessments, extends end of the year testing windows by up to 2 weeks, extends the date for reporting data for the state report card from September 15th to October 14th, waives the state-only American history assessment, adds the Ohio Meets Job Readiness Seal as a graduation pathway for the 2020-21 school year, provides clarification to community schools that their ratings cannot qualify them for incentives unless they were eligible prior to the 2020-2021 school year. Currently, there's 2 report card reforms being worked on. The first one is House Bill 200 and the other is Senate Bill 145. I plan to attend a webinar of these 2 bills and report back next month with more information at our work session, but I wanted you to be aware of that tonight. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. I'm going to call on you for 7B as well.
For what?
For 7B, the board reps report. I know.
It had stuff, but they're going to talk next month. Thank you though for the opportunity.
Okay, we sent them home. Okay. 7C is the March 2021 monthly financial report. Ms. Sauber.
morning. Just to give you a few updates tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about effective tax rates. If you remember at our March board meeting, we approved the amounts and rates, which was a requirement for the county auditor. Those were voted rates, and the board asked me to put together some information on effective rates, so I'll give you an update on that. A little bit about the food service fund, and then just another update on some of the enrollment deductions that we have for students that are attending other districts. So just a reminder, a little bit about what effective tax rates are. So effective millage is not the same as voted millage. What effective millage is, though, is the rate taxpayers are actually paying on their tax bills. Our revenue does not grow, with very few small exceptions in terms of new construction and inside millage. And of course, if we pass new money millage, then our revenue goes up then as well. And then a reminder about what happens and how rates are set. It's an inverse relationship between property value and the effective rate. And so the large increase in value that we just had pushed our effective rate down because, again, it's an inverse. So when property value goes up, our effective rate goes down. So to take a look visually at where Centerville stacks up in terms of the other school districts in Montgomery County, this is a table that shows all levies. So this is our operating funds, it's bond funds, it's permanent improvements, any levy that a school district has, and these are all effective rates. So Centerville is sitting at 46 mils effective. This is for agricultural and residential values. Commercial and industrial is a little bit different, but it's the majority of our value is made up from the residential values. So that's all levies. And then I also wanted to show you, again, a visual of what it looks like for just the operating funds. So this is taking out the permanent improvement funds and taking out the bond millages. We're at 42.23, and you can see where we stack up there. We're a little bit more to the right of the graph. Any questions about the effective rates? Moving on to talk a little bit about the food service fund. We talked extensively about this through the winter months. We're still running negative at about $330,000 as of the end of March. We have positive balances in March of 2020 and March of 2019. We did board approve a transfer of $250,000, and at that time, when Mr. Wesley and I talked to you about the food service fund, we told you that that was just kind of a stopgap, that we would probably be coming back to ask for an additional transfer in June, and that'll be coming to you in June. But we'll wait until June so that we can determine exactly what that amount should be. Students are still eligible to receive free breakfast and lunch every day. Doesn't matter what their economic status is. Every child is eligible for this. It's through the seamless summer option. This slide is actually wrong because it says it's in place through September 30th, and we just got word late last week that they've extended that now through June of 2022. So for another whole year here, this opportunity for families will be available. And then just a reminder, again, we talked about that with the transfer, that the fund must end the fiscal year with a zero balance or a positive balance. And then finally, in January, we also talked a little bit about those deductions that are taken from our state funding for students that go out of our district for reasons like open enrollment. Some kids go to STEM schools, some kids attend community schools, and then there's some scholarship opportunities that families take advantage of. So the first two sets of numbers you saw in January. I went ahead and ran the same information for April so that we could do a comparison. It has tweaked up just a little bit more to 23% in terms of enrollment. And then the dollars that flow along with that, we've gone from about $1,448,000 from last year to almost $1.8 million this current year through April, our April #1 foundation payment. And that's an increase of 24% over fiscal year 20. So we'll keep looking at that. If the funding plan is approved in the way it's written right now through the House, which has got a lot of changes that it's going to go through, students will be counted wherever they attend. So this deduction that we're talking about here actually goes away. And so there's a lot of questions out there with the funding model, so we'll see what happens with that. We'll be following that along the way. That's the end of my report.
Thank you.
Jeff, I would like to make a comment on pretty good of the order since.
Sure.
I know there's some speakers early in the meeting that made some comments that I just feel the need to reply to from a medical standpoint, just with an understanding that sometimes what people say, if it's going to be on television, that we get, a differing viewpoint that I feel is a little bit more accurate and scientific. In anticipation of having some of this tonight, I printed up some articles and facts that I think really are more facts. And, there are questions, can wearing a mask make it harder for a child to breathe? The answer is no. It does not cause hypoxia. It does not lower your oxygen level. It will not cause any respiratory problems. And it says the vast majority of children aged 2 or over can safely wear a face mask for extended periods of time at school, at child care, and includes many children with many medical conditions. Next one, can masks interfere with a child's lung development? The answer is no. Do masks trap carbon dioxide that we normally breathe out? And the title of this article was myths, 5 common myths. The answer to that question is no. There have been false reports that cloth mask coverings can lead to carbon dioxide poisoning from rebreathing the air we normally breathe out. This is just simply not true. Carbon dioxide molecules are very tiny, smaller than respiratory droplets. They cannot be trapped by breathable materials such as cloth masks. In fact, surgeons wearing tight-fitting masks all day long as part of their jobs do so without any harm. So that is just an absolute falsehood. Can masks lead to weaker immune systems? Because that was brought up today by putting a body under stress. The answer again is no. Wearing a cloth mask does not weaken your immune system or increase your chances of getting sick if exposed to COVID virus. Wearing a cloth mask covering, even if you do not have symptoms of COVID, helps prevent the virus from spreading. And I've got multiple articles and concerns. Masks do not cause an increased risk for bacteria development, lung disease, pneumonias, illnesses. It's not true. We've not seen stuff. Is it good to change masks on a frequent basis? Absolutely. They get dirty, you're breathing out. Absolutely. They've shown no cases of any problems from wearing a mask, and people have been wearing masks for a long, long time. Masks have shown to reduce the spread of COVID virus. And again, it may not affect you as much, but it prevents you from spreading it to other people. So it may not help you as much as it'll prevent you from giving it to anyone else. One of the concerns or questions was about illness in children, and kids aren't getting sick, and do we need to do this? And this is from a report from the state of Ohio from 4/22, so this is this past week. 0 to 19-year-olds, Ohio, 7 deaths, 19,033 cases. The rate of death is 0.4%. What was quoted earlier was 0.00003%. Not accurate. Hospitalizations, just so you know where we are in this state, 1,322. 2.5% of all hospitalized patients are pediatric. Cumulative cases, there have been 141,000 cases. 13.3% of all cases is in the pediatric population, 0 to 19 years of age. Mortality, when you look at all 43 states, New York, Puerto Rico, children were 0 to 0.19% of all COVID-19 deaths. 10 states reported no deaths. So to say that there are no deaths is not accurate. And if we accept one death from a child as being, well, it's okay, it's part of the process, it's people die of the flu. Well, I wish that no kids died of the flu, and I wish no kids died of COVID. So we shouldn't accept one death as acceptable in terms of the numbers of the population. So the accurate number is up to 0.3% of all childhood COVID-19 cases resulted in deaths. So there are deaths. Worldwide, 27,000 cases, 27 million cases, 3.7 million were children, In the U.S., 13 states reported over 100,000 children that have COVID. Ohio, in that list of all the states, is number 6. We still have a problem in this state. And to think we don't and taking masks off doesn't matter is not accurate. Wearing masks help, they protect. There are a few cases of which exemptions are allowed. And I know we've discussed this, Tom, in the past, and you know what those are. Developmental disabilities, limited physical mobility, severe autism, structural anomalies of the head or neck, where wearing it may cause impairment of that child. Those are the only cases. Having asthma, not a contraindication. Having diabetes, not a contraindication. Having ADHD, not a contraindication. So despite what we've said tonight, the accuracy of that information may not have been as good as was presented. And I just want people to have sort of the other side of the story based on true, accurate science. That was all. I think our policy is good. I think it stands well. And I think we've done a service to the community, to the students in this school. And I'm proud of the way the district has handled these cases. And I am proud of the way Dr. Henderson has responded to parents' requests and concerns. The law is not illegal right now in terms of wearing masks and mandates. If the state decides to change that law, so be it, we will deal with it then. But as of right now, this district and this board and our administration has every right to allow mask mandates for every student in this district, unless they have one of those medical conditions, which should be told to Dr. Henderson so he can validate that as a reason. Someone coming up and saying, I have an exemption for my student with not knowing that valid exemption doesn't make it so. And we have HIPAA laws. These will not go, anyone needs to know those exemptions. But in order for Dr. Henderson to make an accurate decision on an exemption, he needs to know the reason. It can't be just because I say so, and you'll have to trust me. That's not enough. Our goal is to protect all the students and all the staff and all the faculty in this district, and that, I think, is what we have done, and we will hopefully continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, you didn't mention mold.
Well, you know, I don't think that's accurate either.
No, it's not accurate.
So, and again, I'm not against everyone's right to come up here and talk, but it should be accurate information that everyone believes based on the science in this country, not on cherry picking certain people. And the study that was quoted about Stanford has been absolutely disputed, and the person that made that article is not related to Stanford, and they have no, and they dispute the facts that this person said. So none of this is, I shouldn't say none of it, but the overwhelming, if not more majority of what was said tonight is not accurate information.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else, any comments? Could I have a motion for adjournment, please?
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes. We are adjourned. Thank you for coming, y'all.